off to the woodyard. Now, the woodyard was also the undertaker's. And as we walked in, I looked down and noticed that the floor was right up to my knees in oak shavings, and so it was like walking through water. And then as we got into the centre of the room, on trestles, was a coffin, which sort of, wow, a coffin, a real coffin. And I thought, it was so extraordinary. And then as I looked up and looked around the walls, I was only 7, mind you, the walls were covered in naked ladies from magazines. And I thought I'd gone to heaven. This was fantastic. There was death, naked ladies, the sea of shavings, and I think that was the point at which I thought, maybe I ought to be a painter.
Kit's work is a very English form of erotica. In his early days, he used photographs from naturist magazines to paint his nudes from. But for the last 3 decades, he's taken his own.
Power. There we are, it's a little jacket.
There's a real delight with the world that he has. He has this real sort of childlike, otherworldly engagement with everything. And yeah, it does seem to attract strange events. Things just sort of serendipitously happen. I'm ready.
Good. Come this way, Rocket.
He's got a really sort of puckish energy to him, and he really leaps around when you sort of end up acting together.
That's absolutely exactly what we want. That's good.
Kit never uses professional models. He prefers to ask friends.
Oh, hello, Judy.
Or he approaches complete strangers to pose for him.
I've told Kit, I'll strip off, I'll do anything for you, Kit, bar take my trousers off. So he's never asked me to take his trousers off, but I've taken my shirt off, and I'll do anything for him.
OK, Julian.
It's very quick, very painless. And you go there, half an hour later you're released and you're off.
But that's it. And so it's rather like a tango. So we're bottom to bottom. The initial idea for the painting was that it should have been bottom and Titania the morning after the night before, the confusion of what happened then. But now the painting has morphed much more into Bottom has got older, but he's looking back on his life. Old Bottoms like me look back on their lives and remember times past. Oh, good. You've got perfect bottom heights. And so the painting is about him going back into the woods, trying to find that night with Titania. And so in the painting, she hasn't aged. She's the Queen of the Fairies, so she hasn't aged at all, but he's aged. That's it. I'm surprised. But no, that's frowning surprise. This is delightful surprise. That's it. That's it. Great.
Just before filming began, Kit's mother died, meaning that he had to return home to Kent to sort out her affairs. He was born here in 1946, and he grew up on the marshes, but he left at 15 and rarely returns.
I remember the smell of the place. The sort of sheep-shitty smell, but it's nice.
Kit's early work is a window on his childhood, and it celebrates the anonymous nature of the landscape. It's a secret place of naked swimming, nude sunbathing, somewhere you can sink into the long grass and stare at the endless sky.
During the summer months, we used to swim in the rivers and dikes. You could swim along these banks with just your eyes above the water. They gently swim. And you'd see bank voles and all sorts of things happening. You became part of the landscape because you got so close into it swimming. And all the kids swam naked, and the adults did as well. The potency of what you saw as a child the first time, you became aware of sexual things that were just mysteries. I suppose that's what it is, that when you're a child, the whole of life is a mystery. Later on in your life, those very, very strong and clear impressions and images come back to you when you're wanting to work. And I think that most artists just mine their childhood.
Kit's childhood on the marshes ended at 15, when he left school and joined the Navy as a boy sailor. But life on board ship never matched up to his romantic ideas of the sea. After 4 years, he came permanently ashore, his course set on becoming an artist.
There came a time when I was working in factories and feeling that I could only paint at night time, and I just didn't have the energy to do it. I was trying to paint 6 hours a night, work in a factory 8 hours a day. So I decided to stop, and the first thing I did was buy an old Bedford van to live in over the summer, so that I saved up a little bit of money so that I didn't have to pay rent during the summer.
Parking up by the seaside, he painted to the exclusion of everything else and lived cheaply, very cheaply.
In the evenings, my little luxury being the bag of nails, I'd pick up bits of wood like this on the beach and make, that's good and solid, good, make little boats and put my name on them and send them out to sea.
One of those little boats was salvaged by a musician who became a pen friend of Kit's. He spotted an entry form for a major art competition in Liverpool and sent it on to Kit, who duly entered.
Right, let's take this off down to the water, see if it will sail.
He didn't win, but his painting was selected for exhibition, something that brought Kit to the attention of the Portal Gallery in London.
There she goes. She's nicely heeled over. She's on a starboard tack.
I'll get the file out which has all the sales since the year dot, so I can tell you when we first sold the Kit Williams. Now, here we go. Kit Williams. So, Christopher Williams, someone's written Kit. Triptych sold £350 on the 7th of July 1972. And it looks to me like there was a show in 73, and there are a lot of sales there. 73, there's the whole of that page. And then 74, and then another show in 1975. We've got Elton John, Harry Saltzman of James Bond fame, Saltzman and Broccoli.
I had my first London exhibition, which just went wow, you know, and from then I never looked back.
You've been a roaring success.
Yeah.
In a relatively short time, Kit had established himself as a bright young thing. He was even the subject of an early Arena documentary, and he was attracting a lot of attention. Some of it came from the publishing world.
I used to go to a gallery called the Portal Gallery at that point in Grafton Street. And one day I went in there and I saw in the back a painting. And I said, who did that? And they said, somebody called Kit Williams. And then I said, you know, it interests me. I have a funny feeling that conceivable that he could do a children's book.
So Tom arranged to visit Kit at his cottage in Gloucestershire to see if he could coax him into working on a book.
He was very amiable, he was very nice. He showed me his pictures with pride and joy, and he talked about art. And then finally I broke it to him that I was interested in maybe him doing a picture book for children. And he said, I said, that would be ridiculous. He said, if I do paintings, every painting can be different. I can do whatever I want to do. If I do a picture book for children, you want the same characters, won't you? You know, you want it to continue. I'd be redoing my own work. No, I'm not the least bit interested. And then we had lunch.
It wasn't until the end of the day when he left, and just as he went out of the room, he just said,
you know, it's a pity that you're not interested in doing a children's book, because you could do something that would really shake the world. It would be magnificent.
And that little phrase stayed with me and sort of started to burn into my imagination.
Having decided to do a puzzle book, Kit had a problem.
I did not do puzzles. I didn't do crosswords. So I thought if I use that sort of method that has been used before, it's going to be cracked easily by those sort of people. I've got to devise a system that has never been used before. And it had to be very simple, but it had to be absolutely unique.
Kit's idea was, on the face of it, quite simple. He would conduct a nationwide treasure hunt. The clues to the prize would be set out in a series of pictures, following the story of a hare charged with transporting a jewel from the moon to the sun. The execution of that simple idea, however, was another thing entirely.
And I worked on it for 3 years. Never contacted him all that time. At the end of the 3 years, I phoned him up and I said, "Hello, Tom, I've finished that book." And he said, "What book?" And I said,